We're always looking for ways to build a better society, right? Well, Joe Rogan thinks he might have stumbled onto a clue, and it's from a place you might not expect. So today, we're going to break down his really interesting argument for why Christianity, even if you're not a believer, might just be one of the most practical tools we've got.
Okay, so let's just dive right in with this quote. I mean, this really sets the stage for everything. Rogan's whole point is like, hey, forget about whether God is real for a minute. Just look at the results. He's not getting tangled up in theology. Nope. He's starting with what he sees in the real world and kind of reverse engineering it. It's a pretty cool way to look at it, right? It totally shifts the conversation from faith to, well, function.
So where does this whole idea come from? You'd think some big spiritual insight would happen, on a mountaintop or something. But for Joe Rogan, it happened in a parking lot, seriously. And it wasn't just one parking lot, it was two. And the difference between them, well, it says a lot about us.
And here it is. It's like a tale of two worlds, isn't it? On one side, you've got the concert parking lot. It's total chaos, right? It's like Mad Max out there. Everyone's riding bumpers, honking, trying to weasel their way in. It's every person for themselves. But then you look at the church parking lot. It's orderly. People are letting each other in. It's cooperative. It's efficient. It's just nice. So what in the world is going on here?
So what gives? Are people who go to church just built different? Are they naturally nicer? Rogan's take is, nope, that's not it. It's not about the individuals. It's about the playbook they're all following, the operating system they're running in that moment.
And that playbook, well, that's where things get really interesting. It all comes down to a clash of two completely different worldviews. And the first one, the one that kind of seems to be everywhere these days, you could call it the me philosophy. And trust me, its effects go way beyond just how you get out of a parking lot.
I mean, just think about it for a sec. If you believe this life is all there is, just you and the stuff you can get, then what's the most logical way to act? It's to focus on you, right? To maximize your own experience. Every decision comes down to what's in it for me, because, well, what else is there?
And this really breaks it down perfectly. The me philosophy, it's basically a game of musical chairs. Everyone's just scrambling to get their own seat before the music stops. But then you've got this other idea, this religious foundation. And it's more like a potluck dinner. Everyone brings something. Everyone contributes. Because it's not just about you. It's about the group. It's a total flip from me to we.
Okay, this gets a little heavy, but stick with me because it's a huge point. Every single day, over 150,000 people die. And in a purely material world, where does that lead? The source is pretty blunt about it, the fertilizer pit. If that's the end game for everyone, from Mother Teresa to Hitler, then what's the point? That's the big kind of scary question about meaning. That's at the heart of this whole thing.
So, faced with that big question, Rogan does something interesting. He decides to go right back to the source. He's not interested in the organized religion, the dogma, the history, none of that. He just wants to look at the source code, the core teachings. What did Jesus actually say? And what he finds is, well, it's pretty hard to argue with.
I mean, just look at this stuff. Love your enemies, care for the poor, turn the other cheek. The idea that we're all in this together, that we should lift each other up, it's a blueprint for a good society, isn't it? But that brings up a really tough question. Can you take all this, all these amazing ideas, and just separate them from the person who said them?
And this quote right here, this is a really big deal. For a guy like Rogan, who's always been a pretty big skeptic of organized religion, to look at these core ethics and say, I can't find any faults in it, that's huge. Now, it doesn't mean he's suddenly become a devout Christian or anything, but it does mean he's become a huge admirer of how well the system actually works.
But, and this is a big but, here's the catch. You can't really just take the nice parts, like be good to each other, and leave the rest, because a pretty central part of his whole message was his claim that he was God. So the argument goes, you're kind of forced to make a choice. Was he a liar, a total lunatic, or was he who he said he was? You can't just land on good teacher and call it a day.
That's a tough one for sure. And it leads to what might be the most practical and kind of mind-bending idea in this entire discussion. What if you just acted like it was all true anyway?
Yeah, what if it's all just a story? The argument here is that, well, even if it is, acting as if it's true seems to create a better world. It's like saying, look, I don't know how the engine works, but the car drives great, so I'm going to keep driving it. And when you see that church parking lot effect, you got to admit, this car, this framework, it runs really, really well.
And this is where we get a really cool paradox, something Jordan Peterson talks about. If you act as if God is real, you'll have a better life. The whole system tells you to stop focusing on yourself, to think about others, to aim for something higher. And what happens? You, yourself, end up having a better life. It's kind of a cosmic boomerang. It just works. Okay, but we're not done yet. There is one more absolutely crucial piece to this puzzle. It's something that Rogan and his guest argue is maybe the most essential ingredient for a healthy society, and it's something they say is dangerously missing from a lot of our modern ways of thinking.
And that secret ingredient, it's forgiveness. Rogan basically calls it Christianity's killer app. The whole thing is built on the idea that, hey, people are flawed. We mess up. It's not a bug in the system, it's a feature. And because of that, there's a path forward, a way back. Now, the source contrasts this with what it describes as modern leftism, which it argues has a zero forgiveness policy. If you mess up, you're out. There's no coming back. It really makes you wonder, right? Where do we find that pathway to forgiveness in our modern world?
And this little story about the monk just illustrates it perfectly. So you've got this monk, right? And his whole life, he struggles with drinking, a big vice. He fights it until the day he dies. But in his last few years, he manages to cut his drinking in half. Now, did he win? No. But was he condemned? Absolutely not. The point was, he was on the path. He was trying. That's what mattered.
And that's really the core of it. The system doesn't demand that you're perfect. It just demands that you stay on the path, that you keep trying. The argument being made here is that any society that loses that pathway for forgiveness, it's going to become brittle. It's going to break. It's a pretty powerful idea when you think about it.
So that leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? Is that what it all comes down to? If you strip away all the dogma and theology, is a real, built-in pathway to forgiveness the essential thing for a society to actually function and thrive? It's a huge question, but maybe, just maybe, the answer has been right there in front of us this whole time.